Hey, it's Paul from howtoplaybassdotcom. In today's lesson, we're going to learn how to play A Town Called Malice by The Jam. This is an interesting tune because it's fairly easy and straightforward. The challenge comes from the tempo the tune's played at. Now, I saw a video this week which kind of relates to this. It was Jeff Berlin talking about metronomes. And while I don't agree with some of the things Jeff says, in the video that I saw, and I posted an embed of it on the blog section of my website, so if you go check it out, you'll find it's called Jeff Berlin Metronome, I think. But one of the things that Jeff said, which I think is gold dust, is something that beginners don't do enough of, and that's when you're learning something new, is learning it really slowly and out of time, so that you can really focus on getting the notes right. So the intro to A Town Called Malice is pretty straightforward, but what a lot of people will do is they'll put the record on and try and play along at that speed straight away, and unless you're reasonably adept, you'll find that it's a struggle. So the better way to learn it is so that you learn it without mistakes from the first time you play through it, is just to forget the tempo and just play it really slowly. And that way you can concentrate on making sure your fingers are playing the right notes, that your coordination with your left hand and your right hand is working fine, getting everything right. And then when you can play it slowly, then you can start bringing in the metronome or bringing in a drum groove or playing along with the recording. Although, again, don't be in any rush to play at performance tempo. Concentrate more on playing perfect repetitions at slower tempos and gradually building it up like that. That, as a general philosophy, is a way to learn to be able to play just about anything. I've used it for some complex bass lines and it works really, really well. It's one of the best pieces of advice I've ever come across. So it's something I highly recommend you take on board. 3 parts of this song, they're all covered in the tutorial. Again, just learn them slowly. This is a good challenge for beginners to get these parts, to learn them at a slow tempo and then gradually work them up to performance tempo. When you get to performance tempo, then the song will be a good exercise in your plucking hand technique, whether you're playing with your fingers or with a plectrum, and your fretting hand technique and the coordination of the two, because it is quite a brisk tempo when you come up against it. So that's what we're going to look at today. Before we go and look at that basic riff that I just played really slowly, if you're not a subscriber to my free monthly e-zine, click on the link underneath the video, head over to the website, go subscribe. Right hand corner of every page it says free bass lessons. As a thank you for subscribing, you get a series of video and PDF song tutorials over the next couple of weeks, and then there's an exclusive song tutorial in PDF and video format that comes out every month that only subscribers get access to. So go do that and then jump back here and we'll go and look at the intro. So this basic 2-bar riff forms the bedrock of the tune. It's used in the choruses and it's the riff, played very slowly. And notes are just D and B and A. Now there's 3 ways I'm going to show you how you could play this. D, we're always going to play on the 5th fret of the A string. B, at the moment we're playing on the 2nd fret of the A string and the open A string. So you've got D, 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 B, A, D, 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 B, A, B. And notice where the notes are staccato and where they're held. So that's one way of playing it. Another way is, instead of playing the open A string, is to play the A on the 5th fret of the E string. So third way you can play it is by playing the B on the 7th fret of the E string. So you play now. All of those will work. I prefer this one where you're playing the D with the 5th fret at the 5th fret of the A string and fretting it with your 4th finger, because the first note of the next section that we're going to look at, the verse, is this low F sharp. And if you're playing this variation, you've got to jump down from that B, the 7th fret of the E string, to the F sharp, which you can do, but the song is, as I said in the intro, it's very brisk, so it's just creating an extra movement for your hand to make. So for me, that works better, because you've just got to go and you're there, you're right at the F sharp, you're at that 2nd fret location anyway, and just got to drop down to the next string to grab that. So play through that slowly and then start speeding it up. As I say, it's kind of the bedrock of the song. If you ever do this live, there's this section at the intro where it's pretty much just bass, and there's a section after the bridge where it goes to just pretty much bass and just like a tambourine kind of sound on the drum. So you just need to get this part nailed and be able to play it when called upon in the song. And as I say, just start learning it slowly. Take it nice and slowly at first, without a metronome, without anything giving you a pulse, just getting your fingers used to where they go and getting the coordination of your left hand and right hand together, and that's irrespective of where you play it. That's the location I play it, but you could play it there too. So work out which one works best for your system, how you fret the bass, your size of hands, your scale of bass. Adopt that, work on the riff, and then we'll move on to the next section of the tune, which is the verse. Okay, the verse is a 16-bar pattern. It splits down into two 8-bar figures quite nicely. The first 8 bars is kind of the pattern of the verses. It's a call and repeat kind of bass line where you've got a low root note or a root note in just holding for a bar, and then you've got kind of an answer, kind of a melodic figure, and then the last 8 bars is a much more driving section which leads to the chorus. So we'll look at the first 8 bars first. So you've got this pattern here. It's an F sharp minor chord. You're playing F sharp for a bar, holding that for a bar, 2nd fret of the E string, and then the kind of the answer phase, question and answer, call and response, whatever you want to call it, is, which is F sharp, G, F sharp, E, and those are the 4th, 5th, 4th, 2nd frets of the D string. And then the next bar, which is an E minor, you've got to get from there, 2nd fret of the D string, to fret E again here at the 7th fret of the A string. Also, you notice there's a low note in there as well. As I'm plucking that, I'm plucking the open E string as well. So just practice that, getting them cleanly. So you've got to go and get both of those notes in there. And then the kind of the answer pattern for the first bar of the E minor chord is, which is B, 9th fret of the D string, C sharp, 11th fret of the D string, back to B at the 9th fret, to A at the 7th fret. And then when you've played that E, you've got the A at the 7th fret of the D string, you've got half a beat to get back down to the root note of the F sharp minor chord, which is 2nd fret of the E string. Then you repeat that pattern. So then the second time round, the answer bar is slightly different. So you're playing C sharp, B, A, back to B, and then sliding down from B to get your hand in position for the second 8 bars. So you've got that chord again, or 2 root notes, the octave E, 7th fret of the A string, and the open E, played as one. And then you've got C sharp at the 11th fret, B at the 9th fret, A at the 7th fret, all of the D strings, B again at the 9th fret, sliding down to land on G, which is the first note of the second 8 bars of the verse. So in the second 8 bars, you kind of got this driving rhythm that goes through. Slightly different there. So let's go and look. So the first 2 bars are in a G chord. They're all G at the 3rd fret of the E string, apart from that open E. There. The next chord, another F sharp minor, is the same pattern but replace the G's with F sharps, and that has a open E string as well. Then you're up to an A chord. So you've got A's, and then 2 E's, 2 open E's at the end, and then the final bars, and then you'll be into the riff. So that final 2 bars is just A, B, C, C sharp, 2nd, 3rd and 4th frets of the A string for that A, B, C and C sharp, and leads you back to the D, which is the start of the riff. That's the end of the verse pattern. There's one more section to do. There's like a bridge section where the lyric is Sunday's roast beef, is how it starts. So let's go and look at that section. Okay, the bridge is an 8-bar section. As you heard, the first 8 bars are very sparse. We're going from a C sharp minor chord down to a B minor chord, and literally just going down like this with root notes. Down to B, we go back to C sharp. This is 2nd and 4th frets of the A string. And at the end of the 8th bar, you've just got a little pickup, the B and the C sharp, before you go to the last 4 bars, which are in A and kind of drive us towards the riff again. So what you've got is you've got A, E, G. G's the 3rd fret of the E string, A is the 5th fret, of course, and then you've got an anticipated D on that riff, so be that time you'll get that anticipation there. So it's a pretty straightforward tune, as I said in the intro, and the challenge is getting the parts and working them up towards performance tempo. Don't be afraid to play them really slowly, out of tempo. While you're working on them, and get the patterns into your head, under your fingers, before you start working them up to speed. Common beginner's mistake to start trying to play things too fast before they've really got the pattern under the fingers, and when you try and do that, then your fingers kind of trip over the notes and you start making mistakes. So important to learn it properly in the first place. So put those together, you have to play through the song and be able to develop your speed and coordination using the bass line for this song.